You are now listening to WSN Wolf Sports Network.
Live from Carrollton, Georgia, this is Sports Pack.
Home of the hottest takes.
I'm going to disagree with you right there because the Dallas Cowboys are actually going to have less wins this year than the team that I'm about to talk about. And the team that I'm about to talk about are the Atlanta Falcons.
The hottest debates.
He's the all-time leading scorer, a four-time MVP. LeBron James is the greatest basketball player ever, not MJ.
Yeah, greatest losing in the finals, maybe.
And some of the top interviews in sports radio.
Super Bowl champion, Brad Johnson.
This is Joe Urso, five-time national champion head baseball coach for the University of Tampa.
This is five-time Olympic medalist Alana Myers-Taylor.
This is President Brendan Kelly. You're listening to Sports Pack.
You know what time it is. Wolves country, let's ride.
It's a beautiful Monday evening in Carrollton, Georgia. The weather is crisp, not too cold, not too warm. Beautiful February day. But guess what? It's more beautiful because all five of us are finally together for the Four Sports Pack of 2024. This year's sports director, Brendan Willoughby Ray, kicking things off, joined by Gavin Ellis, Carly Pear, Gianna Wilcox, and one Richard Reed. Sports Pack is brought to you by Jefferson's. Jefferson's and Carrollton's boneless wings are served hot and fresh daily with 20 different sauce options. Run, don't walk to Jefferson's to get yours. Located at 342 Maple Street. Visit their website at jeffersons.com and follow them on Instagram at jeffersons_Carrollton. How's everybody doing?
Pretty good. Yeah, doing good. Glad to be
It's a great
back.
day to be a Wolf.
It's a beautiful day to be a Wolf. Beautiful must be my word of the day or something. We have a jam-packed show for y'all tonight, touching on college basketball, NBA, the NFL. We have a very special Dealer's Choice segment where we are discussing a sport we haven't discussed all of 2024. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But y'all know where we always kick things off.
West Georgia dials up a 29-yard score on 4th and 6.
D1, baby. Go Wolves.
I just want to say one thing. Hold that L, Valdosta State. The Blazers suck and the Wolves rule. 76-72, your West Georgia Wolves, led by Camden Atlin, Zoddy Jackson, Cole Fisher, go in to Valdosta, down by the beach, and tell those Blazers to go catch a wave.
Nice.
We own them. We got the last W over Valdosta, unless we play them in the conference tournament. That still very well may happen, so we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. But that very well may be the last time we ever played the Valdosta State Blazers in basketball, and we got the job done in their house. Guess what? I don't care about the peach basket. Take the beach basket and throw it in the garbage. I want to drive down to Valdosta with a giant van with a UWG Wolf slapped on the side. Give me a portrait of Wolfie slapped on the side. Right. Let's pull a Tennessee Vols football fan, okay? Let's go into that basketball court. Let's take their hoop. Let's spray paint it all UWG, put it in the van, and bring it back to Carrollton.
Let's not promote vandalism.
Well,
on
no,
this
it's
show.
not. But that should be the new tradition. We take their hoop. They took our basket. We took their hoop. Get it? Basket, hoop.
Woo, okay.
Get it?
Oh, wait. He's kind of on a wave today. Wait a minute.
Because guess what?
Right.
We're going D1, and if they want the hoop back, they can get on up on our level at D1 too, because West Georgia's all the way up here now. And Valdosta's still at the kiddies table. They're still at the brunch table. We're at the dinner table, baby. We're eating dessert. They're eating one of those little what are those little dinners you used to eat as a kid?
Kid cuisine.
They're eating kid cuisine.
That nasty pudding.
We're eating steak cuisine, baby. That's what it's like to be D1.
Taste-looking food.
I mean, look. To expand on the basketball team a little bit, they're 19-2 overall. Best start, we've been saying this, over and over again, just want to repeat it. Best start to a season within the first 20-something games or so since 1980, right? I think it was 1980.
Yep.
So this team is different, right? We talked about it a lot last show about how we thought last year's team was good, and they were. He had Michael Zavatakis, he had Jalen Sasser, Zoddy's first year on the team. They were balling out. But the chemistry has made the difference for this team this year. You can tell that they all want to play with each other every single day. They've got guys that used to start on other schools that transferred in here, and they're riding the bench now because of what they believe in. Coach Dave, was it Dave Moore, right?
Dave Moore, yeah.
That's one. I didn't want to butcher his name. Coach Dave Moore. He's got that special season. He's got that special sauce. He's got the Kool-Aid. They're all drinking it, right? They are the ones that really want to get this and bring it back to West Georgia, bring that long-term success. Going into Division I, we were all like, okay, football team, this was the year that they needed to, step it up, show all these potential guys, hey, yeah, you need to come to West Georgia. Didn't really pan out. The basketball team is doing what the football team couldn't. They're saying West Georgia is a school that you should be looking at. They should be on your radar. You should watch out for us. We've got the talent. We've got the coaching. We've got the fan base. We've got the facilities. All the makings for a prime Division I basketball school, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, it's been very impressive. I mean, with this win, we clinched a spot in the GSC tournament, and it's extended our win streak to 10 games. It's just been unbelievable this season for the Wolves.
Hey, it's been a great year. I do want to give Valdosta State a little bit of credit.
No.
They're an 8-13 basketball team right now, but they pushed us to the limit. We came out and won 76-72. Now, I wasn't at the game, so I can't really speak on specifics of what happened. But just judging by the score, it looks like Valdosta came out, surprised a few people, turned a few heads. But guess what? They still got whooped in our final regular season matchup. I mean, I don't know if we're going to face off in the GSC tournament. The way they looking, they might get knocked out in the first round of the GSC tournament. Don't know and don't care. So long, Valdosta. Enjoy rotting away in D2, baby. We're moving up. We're moving up after we win the national championship in D2.
Yes,
Go ahead,
Now,
D1. Yes, Lord.
I want to touch on something Gavin said, right? What it boils down to is culture. You're absolutely right. Our football team could not go in there and get the job done. Guess what? That's why that coaching staff, all respect, they had to pack their bags and get out. Joel Taylor's coming in to build a culture here at the University of West Georgia, the same way Dave Moore has built a culture here at the University of West Georgia. We are done being a little brother to anyone. I don't care if North Al looks at it that way with the new rivalry that's brewing. I don't care if anyone in our new conference at the ASUN looks at us and says, you're a newcomer. Anyone that wants to be a rivalry with us is gonna learn soon, quick, and hard.
Yes, sir.
That we
it'll be
are the big brother. That's my point. That West Georgia is the big brother to anyone out there.
Yeah.
But guess what? Not only are our football and basketball teams on the right track, but our baseball team started 3-0 this weekend. A big time
break out the
sweep.
brooms.
Okay. We took down Augusta University 5-3, 8-6, and 8-2. We play at Georgia College tomorrow at 4 o'clock. This team has bats, okay? Huge shout out to Sam Ladner. He showed out all weekend. Went 5 for 10, home run, 3 RBIs, a 1,000 slug percentage. I mean, this team has bats yet again. We looked at those teams of the past with the Fuzzy Furs of the world, said these teams can knock it out the park. But what I'm seeing from this baseball team with the rest of the athletic culture here on the rise, I think we might get a couple of D2 natties before we're done in D2. That's all I'm going to say about it, because West Georgia baseball is coming.
I mean, look, the baseball team had a great season last year. They're on the rise, just like a lot of the athletic programs here. The season just started. We're 3-0, yes. We had a great opening series. Baseball season is long. It's grueling. It takes a lot of grit. It takes a lot of dedication, more than really any season, in my opinion, for any other sport. So check back in halfway through the season. Then we'll start looking maybe at a playoff push, maybe at a championship run, maybe.
But to Brendan's point, great way to start it. But like you said, Gavin, baseball is unlike anything else. It's a long and grueling season. You got to stay consistent. You got to keep this momentum going. Momentum is huge in baseball. We'll see if they can keep riding. But I like how they started it. Pause.
College students who binge drink alcohol at least 3 times per week were roughly 6 times more likely to perform poorly on a test or project as a result of drinking. That is why Printers always join Wolf Radio and Wolf Sports Network's Drink Responsibly campaign to remind students drinking should be done responsibly and in an environment that discourages overindulging. Faculty will not take your hangovers as excuses.
The NBA is back. Let's go.
Schroeder, LeBron doing it again with first slam from Schroeder.
Well. Gianna's wearing the jersey. But we got to give a huge shout out to those Atlanta Hawks on an absolute heater right now. Now, listen, you're 22 and 27 still, so you might want to pump the brakes a little bit. But you got 4 straight wins, and 3 of those against the Lakers, against the Suns, and against the Golden State Warriors when Steph Curry dropped 60 points on your head in Atlanta. But one Trae Young who one person on the show once called a half great value version of Steph Curry.
That was you.
Right. What do you think someone?
Well, I mean, he did drop 35 and Curry dropped 60, so it was almost half. But he showed up in a big way, dropped 35 points, shot 7 of 11 from 3, put up 6 assists and a steal, really played a great all-around game. This Atlanta Hawks team is on a roll right now. How far do we think the Hawks can keep this train going?
Not very far.
I honestly don't know. I mean, I've been really impressed with the way we've been playing for these last 4 games, beating some heavy hitting teams. I know the Warriors have kind of been on a struggle this season. The Suns have been good. The Lakers have been doing what the Lakers do. But we have stepped up and played consistently for the last 4 games, and I've been really impressed. Like, I don't have anything really that negative to say. I mean, I'm hoping we could continue on this streak, but I'm a little concerned because Clint Capela's going to be out for at least a week with what was it? A left abductor strain, whatever that is. And he has actually been very essential to our successes. He's had 6 double-doubles in the past 7 games. He's averaging 11.5 points, a team-leading 10.6 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks per game. Like, he's necessary in the paint. He's getting boards. He's helping us get those second-chance shots. Like, he's very vital to this team. I think we can keep going without him, but it's going to be hard.
I'm going to stop you right there. We're not going any further than what we've done. I'll tell you why. We've got the Clippers, the Celtics, and the 76ers for our next 3 games.
I didn't say it was going to be easy.
Look, I look at it this way, right? The Atlanta Hawks have become a team that have just been widely known as average, right? Almost exact same wins as losses the last couple seasons, and before that it was even worse, minus a fluke Eastern Conference final run, right? Yes, it was a fluke. Don't give me that face. It was a fluke run.
All right.
So I'm looking at it this way. This team still has so much more to do to get to a point where they can consistently win at a high level. Yes, Trae Young is playing at a great level. He was an all-star snub, maybe not the biggest all-star snub, but I think Domantas Sabonis was the biggest snub, but Trae Young should have been an all-star. DeJounte Murray, he's having one of his seasons where he kind of goes back and forth. He'll go on a run of a lot of great games, then he'll fall apart again, right? So the consistency is what's killing this team. We're too inconsistent. We can't rely on all of our guys every night. And add in some injuries, that makes it even worse. Yes, some great wins against the Suns, against the Lakers, against the Warriors, but we've got the Clippers, the Celtics, and the 76ers upcoming.
Okay.
If we can get out of there with 2 wins, let's say we drop one of those games, then yeah, maybe I'm looking at this team. Hold on, maybe we're having a mid-season to late-season resurgence, but at this point, it's still way too early to even consider making a bubble tournament. I said bubble tournament. Wow, making a in-season. No, not even in-season. What is it called? Play-in tournament.
There are too many little
There's
things.
so many things now. Shout out Adam Silver, but it's too early for me to look at this team and say, yeah, we are a play-in tournament team. We're a team that's going to be able to make a deep run in the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay. Let me say one thing.
Okay, go for it.
I will agree with you that yes, it is too early to make a playoff, play-in, whatever for a statement about the Hawks. But to your point about us playing the Sixers, Joel Embiid is out, and I know we're going to talk about that in a second. So, and they haven't been that successful without him. So I think we might have a real chance. That might be a real good, scrappy game for us to win. But go ahead, Brendan.
Speaking of games that are coming up for the Atlanta Hawks, there's a big one tonight in the A. The hottest team in the league, led by right now who might be a top 5 player in the league, Kawhi Leonard. Those Los Angeles Clippers are rolling into Atlanta, into Dre's Den. If you saw the little graphic we put out today for Sports Center, Trey's Chili.
Sports Pack.
Sports Center. Yeah, just scratch that, Sports Pack. We're not ESPN, we're World Sports Network, baby. Anyways, Trey's Chili. We know how the Twins feel about Trey being chilly. The entirety of Atlanta's got a blizzard going on right now. But as I said, these Clippers are on a heater. The Clippers are 3.5-point road favorites. Do we think Atlanta gets it done tonight and extends that win streak to 5?
It's going to be a game, man. I mean, I watched a little bit of that Clippers Heat game last night. It was scrappy, but the Clippers found a way to pull it out.
I was trying not to talk about it, man.
But yeah, I mean, the Clippers have a really good team. They can really attack you from all kind of different directions. We've been talking about it recently. You got Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, who are staples on defense, and then you still have, and then they're both great two-way players, so they're dynamic on offense too. You still have James Harden, who's getting it done at a very high level, shooting the ball very well. Then you have Russell Westbrook coming off the bench whenever they need a spark, ready to go out and ball out. I mean, it's a tough team. It's going to take everything the Hawks have to get this done. But as hot as they've been, if they can keep this momentum going, they could easily make this a ball game and take it down to the wire. They can score with the best of them. The key is will the Hawks be able to score against this really strong defensive Clippers team? Because they're a really hard team to score against. And on y'all's point that y'all were talking on earlier, as far as this Hawks team can go, we've seen it happen a few years ago with that playoff run they went on that Gavin called a fluke. It's really about when they get hot, because you see they strung together these past 4 games against some of the better teams in the NBA. So it's like if they can get hot at the right times, the Hawks can really make a run. But it's all about consistency. Will they stay hot? I doubt it. Will they get hot again around playoff and play-in tournament time? That's yet to be seen. It's a big question mark around this Hawks team, but I know what the Clippers are going to do. They're going to show up and show out, so the Hawks have to bring their A game to have a chance of winning.
The biggest problem that the Hawks face is how stacked this Eastern Conference is this season. Because we look at the play-in right now, you got Orlando at 7, Miami at 8. I mean, I know I'm biased, but Miami just went to the NBA Finals. We look at this Orlando team. I think Paolo Banchero, he is making that climb into superstar stratosphere. Not that he's there yet, but he's definitely making that climb. They got a great young team. And looking at the team seeded 1 through 6. I mean, obviously Boston, Milwaukee, Cleveland, New York, all elite. Indiana might have the best offense in the National Basketball Association. I want to touch on Philly. Philly, with all their horses, looks like a team that can win a championship. This is the best version of Joel Embiid we've ever seen. Tyrese Maxey is becoming a superstar before our very eyes.
Next level.
Wow.
But the aforementioned Embiid, out indefinitely after undergoing knee surgery. Really, really unfortunate for him. He was the leading MVP candidate. I mean, you could argue Jokic, but they were in a 1A, 1B race yet again for what feels like the 4th straight season.
You got Shai in there.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would probably give it to Shea right now just because the Thunder are on top of the West. And as great as Jokic is, I think Shea elevating that Thunder team is the most impressive thing anyone's done this entire NBA season, besides maybe Harden's resurgence. But what James Harden's doing right now is unbelievable. But when we look at the East, when we look at this 76ers team, what do we think this Embiid injury means for the landscape and who comes out of the East in May?
I mean, this affects the entire association as a whole, not just the East. Yes, it's going to obviously affect the East heavier because, you know, that's where the 76ers are landing at. But Joel Embiid led the team in points, led the team in rebounds, led the team in blocks, and he was very high up with assists. So it's like you're looking at it this way. Every single bit of success that the 76ers have had so far this season have been credited to 90% Joel Embiid, 10% Tyrese Maxey, if you're really looking at it objectively, right? So you take away Joel Embiid, this is one of those situations where now you're going to see how this team is really built at its core. You can't rely on your big guy anymore. You can't rely on the 90% that you get from him every single night throughout the entire season so far, right? So you really have to look at who's going to step up for this team, who's going to fill that role, not in the sense to replace Joel Embiid, but who's going to be a guy that can kind of just patch it up just for now until you wait to see what more news comes out about Joel Embiid, when he's going to be back, if he'll even be back for the season, right? So you're looking at it, are the 76ers built to win? That's the real question here. Yes, they're built to win when Joel Embiid is in there because he's the MVP favorite. He's the guy that's been dominating the league. But without him, what is this team at the core, right? Who are the guys that are going to step up? That's what I'm really looking at here.
Yeah, I mean, they just got their leg chopped off, and now they're finna try to put some duct tape on and run a marathon. I mean, like, it's... I don't see how it happens. I mean, I would love to see it happen because I like the 76ers team, but they're missing a major piece. Joel Embiid, offensively and defensively, is a major part of this Philadelphia 76ers team. And I'm with you, Brendan. Tyrese Maxey is turning into a superstar, but you're taking the best weapon away from this team. The top 3 MVP candidate up there with Jokic and Shai, I keep wanting to say Shai. And Shai, like we were saying earlier, I mean, it's going to be difficult to win games without Joel Embiid. And I mean, like, they'll get things done because they have the good supporting cast. Maxey's turned into a star, like we've said already 3 times. But without Joel Embiid, man, it's really going to be hard to make a deep playoff run. Shoot, they haven't been able to win in the playoffs recently with Joel Embiid, so maybe this change will help. But, I mean, it's hard enough to win with him when it comes to getting the playoffs. So now without him, a major piece of that team, I don't know what they're about to turn into.
Yeah, it's really – even this season when Embiid has been out, they're 10 for 14 without him. So it's like they've proven that they can win some games. They can't really win games when he's not on the court. Like, he's a staple piece. He's necessary. He's vital. He's essential. Like, whatever you want to say it, he is necessary for the Sixers team to make moves to get far in the NBA and to get far in the playoffs. And with their no for certain timeline on his injury or when he's going to come back, it's really uncertain for them right now.
This is a perfect moment now for teams like Indiana, for teams like Orlando, for teams like Miami to take advantage of this and try to get some wins under the belt now. While Joel Embiid is 100% not in the game, not playing, this is where you're looking at those teams that are 7, 8, 6 seed maybe right now, and you're saying, hey guys, this is our chance to really bump up, get into that 5 seed, get into that 4 seed, maybe drop off some top teams. This is the time now for the Eastern Conference as a whole to take a step forward and take advantage of this injury, as sad as it sounds. But you've got to take advantage of an injury like this because he's the guy that was dominating you the entire year so far.
Here's the thing, man. I hate to say this because I think Embiid is a fantastic player, and he's probably one of the greatest centers to ever live in terms of regular season performance and production. But it seems like it's the same story every single year. If he doesn't miss extended period in the regular season, he's get to the playoffs, he's going to either be injured and hiding it, or he's going to be a little hobbled and not playing to his best ability. I mean, we see his performance dip in the playoffs every single year. But now with the NBA's new rule where you have to play 65 games to be eligible for awards, we're going to see a lot of those superstars, which is a good thing because fans pay a lot of money for tickets. They're going to be out there. They want to see the stars play. They need to play. But Philly, man, it's going to be hard going forward because Embiid, as great as he is, has these knee injuries every single year. It's not going to get any better. I mean, he's a huge guy, but the knees, the backs, the older he gets, the more of those things are going to compile. And I just have a lot of issues and a lot of questions about them going forward because of it. Hopefully he gets healthy, but looking at this East, as deep as it is, they're going to need Embiid at 100% to go on a deep run. Remember, you can always reload and continue grabbing your favorites from Starbucks or Chick-fil-A. Call the Wolves card office at 678-839-6525 or stop by their office in the UCC. When we get back, college basketball.
Hey guys, this is Bobby Butler, and you're listening to Sports Pack only on the Wolf Sports.
What's going on, y'all? It's Richard here, and just trying to remind you that we are indeed a radio station first. So if you are listening on YouTube and or Twitch, go ahead and go to wolfsportsnetwork.com, hit the play button up top, and listen to the great music that we're playing during this song break. And then once the song break's over, go ahead and click back over to YouTube or Twitch if you want, or stay on radio. Just make sure to tune back in when the song break is over. We'll be back soon.
There are certain stages of grief that every man must conquer. Denial.
You know the 49ers are more equipped for a Super Bowl run.
No, they're not. Anger.
Joel B. Lilly dominates
Luke
can do
let
it all.
me talk. Depression. Like, we can't rebound. We can't play defense. I am done watching the Hawks this year.
Here on Twin Picks, we tackle all the emotions. So tune in to Sports Out of Pocket every Wednesday at 5 on Wolf Sports Network.
In a recent survey, almost 53% of full-time college students ages 18 to 22 drank alcohol in the past month. That is why Pernazale has joined Wolf Radio and Wolf Sports Network's Drink Responsibly campaign to remind you there is no drinking under the age of 21, never drink and drive even if it's just one beer, and add food and water when you drink so you don't end up texting your ex. Know your limits.
It may not be March, but the madness has already begun.
Up in time, Clark for the win! Yeah! There's a takeaway and a run on the poster. Dante Scott absolutely throttles the rim.
You know, Midnight may have won Album of the Year last night.
Okay.
But the North Carolina Tar Heels said good night to the Duke Blue Devils in the last home game against Duke for Armando Bacot, putting in a big-time physical performance, winning 93-84, covering the 4.5, looking like one of the best teams in the country, sitting right now at 18-4. We've spoken on different sports packs about how this ACC is far weaker than usual. We talk about how the SEC is on the rise, the Big 12's at the top, but the ACC stumbling a little back. Meanwhile, though, those Tar Heels are rolling. Richard, do you look at this North Carolina basketball team as the favorite to win the championship right now?
I wouldn't go that far as of right now, but this North Carolina basketball team is playing at a very, very high level. They get scoring from up and down the court. They've got guys up and down that roster that can flat out score. They've got seniority in Bacot and R.J. Davis. I mean, they've got a team, and they're a very scrappy team. They get a lot of steals, turnovers, make a lot of score a lot of their points off of fast breaks. They're very tough and tenacious defensively, and like I said, they can flat out score offensively too. They faced an extremely good team in the Duke Blue Devils, a team that I still think is top 10 in the nation, even if they got knocked out of the top 10 in the AP poll this past week. That Duke Blue Devils team is a squad. I mean, there's not very often where you have 3 of your starters score 20 or more points and you still lose by 9 points. I mean, this North Carolina team is just different. They're playing at a very high level, and they're looking to make another run at a title like they did a few years back. But I wouldn't say they're the favorites. As of right now, I would say the team that beat them a few years back, those Kansas Jayhawks, are indeed the favorite. This Kansas team is deep. I feel like I'm high on Kansas every year, but this year just feels a little different. Yeah, Gavin's with me too. I mean, this Kansas team is good. They've got scoring up and down. They've got Hunter Dickinson. They've got the Aussie, Johnny Furphy, who he just gets hot out of nowhere, man. I'm stumbling over my words. And you also got Kevin McCullough Jr. This Kansas team is flat out good, and they went into Houston. Well, no. Was it a home game? I don't know.
I think they were at home.
I watched the full game, and I don't even remember. I think Kansas was the home team.
Yeah.
But they flat out beat the number 4 Houston Cougars on Saturday. And, I mean, it was just a great game all the way around. Houston and L.J. Cryer got hot at the end of the game, but Kansas was just too much. They can score. I talked about North Carolina being tenacious defensively. This is the best Kansas defense I've seen in years. Over the past few years, you've seen a Kansas team that can really score offensively, but they mainly run off one guy. Like last year, it was Jalen Daniels. Was it Jalen Daniels, Jalen Davis? I can't remember. It was Jalen. Yeah, it was Jalen. I want to say Jalen Daniels. I don't remember, man. It's a lot of names to keep up with at all times. I just get kind of scatterbrained. But they were very hot offensively. But when Jalen wasn't hot, neither was the rest of the team. They were iffy defensively. This team's got scoring up and down. They've got a true dominant big man, the transfer from Michigan, Hunter Dickinson. This Kansas team is the real deal, and they're not afraid to play defense. I'm terrified to play them in the March Madness tournament if I'm a team.
Just quickly going back to the UNC and Duke game. Like, if you don't know, I'm a Duke fan, and I was upset with this loss. I mean, because you said it, UNC is scrappy defensively, and that's part of the reason why they won, on top of the amazing score that their team had going. But even our coach, John Shayer, was saying that the Duke didn't just play to the level that they needed to beat a team like UNC, because UNC has been very good this season. It pains me to say that. We didn't fight on the floor to get loose balls, and we had 11 turnovers that turned into 19 Tar Heel points. So we just weren't as active in protecting the ball. We weren't as active in trying to get the ball back after turnovers, after steals. We just weren't fighting, and it was disappointing because we had a great start in January. We were 7-1. And we got our first win over Virginia Tech in Castle Coliseum for the first time in like our 6 visits there. So we've been off to a really great start. It's just that we just weren't fighting hard enough in this game.
Now, I'd like to kind of talk about Duke a little bit more. I want to raise the question because, obviously over the years, teams and schools as a whole, they always see, tough turnaround periods, right? And I feel like Duke is kind of in that phase right now. They're still playing at a high level, yes. They're still a top 10 team in the country, yes. But you're not looking at Duke and saying, man, these are guys that are front runners to win the tournament, right? So if we're looking at Duke as a whole, are we concerned? Do we think that they're kind of trailing downwards? I know that the recruiting is still at a somewhat high level, but at the same time, Duke's starting to trail off in its overall capacity, right? So I'm looking at it this way. In the next couple of years, are we going to see Duke maybe kind of trail to the mid-level of the ACC, maybe towards the bottom, or do we think that they're still going to be playing at a high level consistently for years?
I think this Duke team is still going to be playing at a very high level. I mean, because like last year we saw them kind of trail off a little bit, but they're starting to gain their footing. They lost to a very, very good North Carolina team. It's a very dangerous team they lost to, and it was still a very close game. They've always got the star power, and they're starting to play well as a team under this new coaching staff. This Duke team is going to be around for a while. I don't think they're going anywhere. But the thing a lot of people forget about college basketball is it's not really about having the big-time star power. It's about how well you gel as a team. That's why I think a lot of these teams with seniority, like this Kansas team with Hunter Dickinson and, these Houston teams, the Purdue team with Zach Edey, who feels like he's in his 80th year of college. These UConn teams, Tennessee, teams like that who have played together for a long time. They've been in the system 4 years. They're very tenacious and scrappy defensively, and they don't just depend on one star offensively to get their points. They're very scrappy defensively, like I said, but also they score offensively by moving the ball around. They get all kind of different players involved. You have players that might average 8, 15 points, 18 points, 12 points, up and down the roster. Those are the teams in college basketball that are the most dangerous. That's why UConn's number one right now, and that's why they won the whole thing last year, because they were extremely tough defensively at all times, and they had shooters and straight up ballers up and down their roster that have been playing in the system for years and were accustomed to it and willing to make sacrifices. Those are the best teams in college basketball, the teams that really play as teams.
Just real quick, I agree with what Richard's saying. I don't think they're going to, fade into oblivion. I mean, they're still Duke, but Gavin, you said it. They're in a transition period. They're getting a new coach. They're trying to figure out how he is going to coach, like how his coaching style is going to fit with this team, how the team's going to fit with him. We got to get new people in, got to recruit better. Like, we just have to get adjusted also to this new landscape of the way that the NCAA is. But I don't think we're just going to fade out. It's just going to take some time. I even knew as a Duke fan we weren't going to be at the same stature we were when we got the new coach. I knew it was going to take a couple seasons to get back to where we were.
Richard, earlier in this segment, you said that Duke is still a top 10 team in college basketball. They are nowhere near a top 10 team in college basketball where we sit today. There are 4 teams in the SEC clearly better than the Duke Blue Devils. I look at this Duke team, a team that lost to Pitt, a team that lost at Georgia Tech, at Arkansas, who's more famous for a love triangle than they are their basketball team this year. I think Duke's a fine team. They're fringe top 15, but I think they're overrated based on the name on the front of that jersey. I don't think Duke hangs with Kentucky, Tennessee, Auburn, or Alabama. You want to look at the betting odds? Right now, those 4 teams ahead of them. Alabama, number 2 offense in the country, yet Alabama's 24th because they're seen as a football school. Meanwhile, Duke gets highly rated every single year because of Coach K and all the previous success they've had, kind of like Kentucky, but Kentucky has more talent, I believe, more in Kentucky, to go on a deep tournament run. And it's no hate toward Duke, but I'm sick of seeing teams ranked where they shouldn't be ranked. And college basketball is actually worse than college football at this. They put teams really high based off who they are, based off the name on the front of the jersey, instead of the results on the court. I look at this Duke team, I don't think they make the Sweet 16. Honestly, I don't love what they've had too many rough games this year, too many bad losses. I look at teams that play in better conferences. We talked about the ACC. Duke's not going to fall in the ACC.
Yeah.
Duke's going to be a top 2 or 3 team in the ACC every single year, but that's because the ACC is not a good basketball conference right now. The ACC will not be a great basketball conference for years if the NIL keeps trending the way it is, because the SEC is looking great, the Big 12 is looking great. I think the Big 10 is going to start. It's already probably overtaken the SEC.
Yeah, we see Rutgers already has 2 5-star recruits committed.
Exactly. So I'm looking at the ACC. The whole entire conference is going downhill, but that's great for Duke. That's great for UNC. They're going to win a lot of regular season games. They're going to get to the tournament. But I don't think that Duke is built the way they were. I don't see Duke as a powerhouse anymore. I think they're a great They're almost like UCLA was for a lot of years. Yeah, they have all the national championships. They have all the success, but guess what? You got to start proving it on the court. I don't see Duke as that team. I could be proven wrong, but I do not see the Duke Blue Devils as a contender this year.
Yeah, I mean, all I'm saying, I don't see them as a straight-up title contender at all. I named the teams that I think were title contenders. I named them a few minutes ago, starting with UConn. But I'm not saying this Duke team is a title contender. I'm saying they're still a very talented team that went into Chapel Hill and took on a great North Carolina team, and really, to a certain extent, pushed them to the limit. I'm saying Duke isn't a complete team. I already went on that little spiel earlier. But they're a team with enough star power that when they're hot, they will push any team to the limit. And that's what they did against North Carolina. Now, North Carolina still won by 9 points, but the game was never comfortable. Duke is going to be a team that, when firing on all cylinders, can push these top teams to the limit. But I do think that these teams that are really complete, can score from all sort of different facets, play great united team defense, and move the ball well offensively, will eventually edge out Duke this year. And now with the program in the future, I'm not really 100% sure. They're still bringing in solid recruiting classes. Duke is still Duke. But this year, I don't think they're a flat-out national title contender, but they are a very solid team.
Now, college basketball has been on fire this year. And there is no better place in the Metro Atlanta area, because Carrollton is Metro Atlanta, ladies and gentlemen, to watch college basketball than Jefferson's in Carrollton. They got 20 flat screen TVs, a full bar with not 14, not 15, but 16 draft beers. Please drink responsibly. A covered porch and an outdoor area for cornhole. Whether it's the big game or you want a chill afternoon with friends and families, Jefferson's is your full stop for fun. Located at 342 Maple Street in Carrollton, Georgia. Visit their website at jeffersons.com and follow them on Instagram at Jeffersons_Carrollton. When we get back, we're talking my favorite sport, football, baby.
Hey, this is 5-time Olympic medalist Alana Myers-Taylor, and you're listening to Sports Pack, only on the Wolf Sports Network.
One last reminder for our last song break. Just want to remind you all that we are indeed a radio station first. So if you're listening on YouTube and or Twitch, just go to wolfsportsnetwork.com and hit the play button at the top of the screen to tune in to the great music that we're playing on the radio station right now. Then when the song break is over, you can either stay on the radio stream or come back over and watch us live on Twitch and or YouTube. It's your prerogative. We'll be back soon.
On Sports Out of Pocket, we have a brand new segment called The Lottery, where we talk about the players that we're high on and low on. Like how we're high on Halliburton turning around this Pacers franchise, and how we're low on Bryce Young for sucking it up with the Panthers.
Whoa. Come on now. That wasn't his fault.
Okay, fair enough. But still, listen to The Lottery on Sports Out of Pocket for more opinions on young players in the league. Sports Out of Pocket every Wednesdays at 5, only on Wolf Sports Network.
Follow Dine West on Instagram at UWGDine_West to keep up on dining hall hours and retail hours. Never get caught missing good food or closings when you're hungry.
In the NFL, only one thing matters. Chasing the dynasty.
The Senior Bowl wrapped up this weekend. We have seen prospects fall. We have seen prospects rise. The NFL world, I mean, we're all hyped for the Super Bowl, but a lot of us, we're ready for the Super Bowl to be over so we can switch over to full-time draft season. You can tell I'm a draft nerd. Richard's a draft nerd. Gavin's a draft nerd. We love the NFL draft. We cannot wait to start covering it. So guess what? We're starting to cover it right now.
Yes, sir.
Now, the Senior Bowl. Spencer Rattler took home MVP. He went 4 for 4, 67 yards and a touchdown. Looked like an absolute stud in the game. We saw Michael Penix opt out. Bo Nix threw a touchdown. He looked great as well. Struggled the first 2 days of practices, but turned it on the third day. Had a great game. Now, the top 3 quarterbacks most people agree on. I know last episode Gavin disagreed, we argued, but we know they're going to be drafted most likely Caleb, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, any order. Those will be the top 3 off the board. And then we got Bo Nix, Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy. I mean, I hate to say that. I know he's not the most loved quarterback at Wolf Sports Network, but he's in the conversation. And one Spencer Rattler, who looks like he's having a career resurgence. Right now, we look at a lot of these quarterback-needy teams. The Broncos at 12. The Raiders at 13. You could even say the Rams at 19, really, looking for the Matthew Stafford successor. The Falcons at 8, maybe reaching for one of these guys. Right now, where would you feel most comfortable your team taking one of these quarterbacks outside the top 3? So say Richard, Falcons, Seahawks, sitting at 8, sitting at 16. Do you reach for a guy or do you go for the best player available at a different position? Carly Broncos, Gavin Falcons. Where are you at?
Honestly, when thinking about quarterbacks outside of that top 3, especially after evaluating Senior Bowl weekend and looking what he's done throughout his entire college career, really humbling himself, hitting the transfer portal, getting to a new spot, having a good first year at that place where they went out and beat their biggest rival at home, the Clemson Tigers. Yeah, I'm talking about Spencer Rattler going to South Carolina here. Then the second year, he still had a solid season for what he had to work with, but at South Carolina, they had a lot of guys hit the portal, like Jaheim Bell, their star utility player, who I think is going to be a very good player that's going to go either 3rd or 4th round for an NFL team. He's like another Deebo Samuel. He's played wide receiver, tight end, and running back, but I'm getting a little off topic here. South Carolina this past season had a pretty solid year to ever put it together, but they had a very bad offensive line luck. I mean, they had injuries up and down. I think they had 6 offensive linemen go down this year. It was just a straight-up bloodbath for them. But Spencer Rattler was one of the only bright spots. Now, he kind of made a few bonehead mistakes every now and again, but that comes with not having a good offensive line. But he's shown this Senior Bowl throughout every single practice he's balled out. And the game he balled out, he threw a dime to Marcus Rosamond-Jack Saint, who's also flying up draft boards. If I'm a team like the L.A. Rams, I'm sitting here looking at Spencer Rattler, knowing I still have Matthew Stafford, who's getting towards the end of his career. So in the first round, I'm going to go out and get a defensive lineman or a corner, help bolster up that defense and try to make another title run with Matthew Stafford, knowing we still have a lot of young talent on this team. But I'm also thinking towards the future. They've done very good in the drafts in the few years past. They got Kyron Williams this past year, Puka Nacua as well. They're really trying to get a nice young offense going. Sean McVay knows they're looking forward. So if I'm sitting in the 2nd, maybe even 3rd round, and I see Spencer Rattler is still on the draft board, if I'm the LA Rams, I'm jumping on that opportunity because you'll get a guy who has a extremely high ceiling. We were projecting him to go top 5 at one point before Caleb Williams came in and took his job at Oklahoma. So we know what he can be. He has a dynamic arm. He can extend plays. He's very smart. He moves through the pocket well. He checks off all the boxes. So if I'm Sean McVay, I'm salivating at the opportunity to take Spencer Rattler in either the 2nd or 3rd round, have him sit behind Matthew Stafford for maybe a year and a half, and then push him into the starting job a few years down, a year and a half down the road. Like I said, give him an opportunity to run that young offense with Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams and lead a new regime with this Rams team behind Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, I mean look. It sounds like you prepared it, but I know you didn't. That was completely off the top. So that was round of applause.
That was all.
Yeah, that was pretty
hit me
good.
as Brendan said, the Rams.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, the Rams would be perfect.
Well, he also mentioned the Seahawks, and I think the Seahawks are in a very good spot too. We talked about this last show with the new head coach hire, young guy Mike Macdonald came from Baltimore. He's looking at a quarterback that I think has maturity, has enough talent to be able to step into a franchise and maybe take over day one if he can beat out Geno Smith, right? So I'm looking at a guy like Bo Nix, right? Bo Nix, he's got the maturity. He's been in college for a long time. He's had a lot of experience. He's played a lot of big-time games, right? He goes, Seattle, that's a great fit for me. Close to Oregon, stays close to home where he was. Mike Macdonald's a young coach. I think he matches vibes well with Bo Nix. And like you were saying last show, Richard, they've got all the tools necessary on defense. They just need to bolster up that offense just a little bit more, maybe get them some more protection, and then all of a sudden, that's a playoff-ready team, in my opinion. I think that Bo Nix is a great fit for the Seattle Seahawks. I think he fits the culture there. I think he fits the winning mentality. I think he's got all the experience necessary to walk into Seattle and find some good success.
So, I really hope Bo Nix doesn't go to the Seahawks because the Broncos, we all know, the whole Russell Wilson thing was just a complete disaster. We're really hurting for a good quarterback because apparently since Peyton Manning retired, we've cycled through 13 quarterbacks and 7 losing seasons. So we need someone good, and right now our backup is Jarrett Stidham. As you know, he also played at Auburn, so it'd be cool if Bo Nix came and as our 12th overall pick. It'd be a little cool, Broncos, Auburn, little reunion, my two favorite teams. So that'd be also cool just to see. But also, he led the FBS in completion accuracy by 77.4%. And, I mean, he was just in a really good ecosystem at Oregon. We know he didn't really excel really well at Auburn, so Oregon was a really good fit for him. I think Auburn really needs this. So I really hope. Not Auburn. The Broncos really need this.
And I kind of wanted to expand on that. You mentioned he was in a good system in Oregon, right? He had Dan Lanning at head coach. Mike Macdonald, to me, is a similar kind of head coach style as Dan Lanning is at Oregon. So I think that's a great fit. I think this is the thing with Bo Nix, right? He's got so much talent that he could really fit in a lot of different franchises. So, yeah, it'd be cool to see him in Denver. Maybe get him a couple more offensive weapons, and he's set there in Denver. It'd be cool to see him in Seattle. One guy I want to talk about, though, rose up in the Senior Bowl. I mean, as Dog fans, we already knew he was a baller, right? Ladd McConkey, white boy, white magic. This dude absolutely balled out all week throughout all the Senior Bowl practices, throughout the Senior Bowl game. His route running is what he really showcased here, and it's kind of funny because it's almost become synonymous with wide receivers. They could run routes really well, right? Wow, that was a tongue twister. Run routes really well. Anyway.
Run routes really well.
You saw it in Julian Edelman. You're seeing it with Cooper Kupp, right? Ladd McConkey is going to be one of those guys that goes to a team that just needs that extra slot receiver, right? Just that extra piece. And he's going to fit really well wherever he goes because that's a guy that you can rely on. He's got great hands. He's freakishly athletic. I mean, this is the thing. In a team at Georgia full of so much talent and so many weapons, he kind of got lost a couple times. And yes, he was hurt for a little bit of the time, but Ladd McConkey is a guy that NFL teams need to look out for maybe in the 3rd round, 4th round. And if he's not there in the 5th round, you better snatch him up because that's great talent.
I could honestly see him going in the top 1 or 2 rounds if he runs well. I think he's going to run in the 4 or 5 range. But one more guy that really shot up people's draft boards in the Senior Bowl that if you're a Georgia fan, you already knew he could flat out ball was Tyke Smith. Mm-hmm. He was first-team All-American 3rd-team All-American a few years back when he played at West Virginia. Got to Georgia, kind of rode the bench a little bit, but in his last 2 years, he's really asserted his dominance as a flat-out Georgia Bulldog. And he's good. He's a very scrappy player. I feel like I use the word scrappy a lot. I need to find a new term. But he plays the star position very well. He's not afraid to get down there and make tough tackles. He can play nickel. He can play safety. He's just kind of a utility guy on your defense. He can get down and play in the box. He's not afraid to tackle. And he won defensive MVP at the Senior Bowl for having 3 pass breakups, showing that he can also get that nickel slot corner position and he can cover very well. So if I'm a team like and it's kind of weird because they have back-to-back-to-back draft picks. The Texans, the Cowboys, and the Packers are 3 teams that I thought about, teams that are really up and coming, but could use a little bit, an injection of youth on that defense, some young playmakers like how the Lions got with Brian Branch. I look at a guy like Tyke Smith, a guy that's not afraid to get down there and tackle. He can cover, like I said, he's a utility player. You can really move him around anywhere. You can send him on little corner and or safety blitzes depending on how you want to use him. He's a flat-out utility guy that will give a lot to your defense.
See, I couldn't agree more. And honestly, touching on Ladd McConkey, I haven't gone in the first round of my mock draft.
Wow.
I haven't gone to the Chiefs. Okay, I think the Chiefs picking at 31 or 32, they need a guy like Ladd McConkey in that receiving core. This is going to sound crazy. And I'm not saying Ladd McConkey is going to become this receiver, because this is one of the greatest receivers of all time. But when I watch Ladd McConkey, I see a little bit of Antonio Brown. I see a little bit of AB in that route running ability, in that just freak ability to turn a nothing play into a something play. He has special skills, special footwork. I think he's a really hard worker, a really determined kid. I think if he lands in Kansas City, it's one of the league's biggest mistakes. Houston at 23 needs to be looking at Ladd McConkey. I think adding one more weapon to C.J. Stroud's repertoire could lead to a Lombardi in the next 2 years. But real quick on the quarterbacks. I think outside of the top 3, say I'm Denver, say I'm Las Vegas, say I'm Seattle, I think I might be waiting to the second round, right? Because we see 4 incredibly quarterback-needy teams. The Vikings at 42, the Falcons at 43, the Raiders at 44, and the Saints at 45. All boom, 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 boom. And if you're a team like the Seahawks, if you're a team like the Broncos, you can easily trade up into that range. I think these quarterback-needy teams that don't land one of the top 3 guys need to wait until the second round, because I think Bo Nix is a great talent. I think Michael Penix is a great talent. Rattler certainly has a few tools in his tool chest. But I don't believe any of these guys are worth high first-round selections. I think there's too much talent at cornerback, at offensive tackle, really at so many positions in this draft to reach on one of the quarterbacks that would likely be available in the second round. And guess what? If one of them gets picked early, you can trade up. You already got the guy you got, at 12, 13, 16, 19, wherever you're picking, and get the guy of your choice. I think there's too many studs in this draft to reach, especially a team like the Vikings, a team like the Broncos that have so many needs. You can't be reaching too high to get one of these guys when you could get a franchise tackle, a franchise edge rusher, a franchise corner. There's so many great players in this draft. I don't really want to reach on a Penix, a Nix, a J.J. McCarthy. I know J.J.'s 20, but Jesus Christ, we got to pump the brakes a little bit. Make sure you draft the best players available. Get the quarterbacks when they come. We saw Will Levis fall outside the first round. That can easily happen again. Let's not push it.
Place your bets. It's time for Dealer's Choice.
Hey guys, it's Carly. You heard me in the last segment, but today we're going to be talking about a different sport than we normally do because we are Sports Pack here. We're not basketball and football pack. So, this past weekend was the NHL All-Star Weekend in Toronto, Canada, with many Canadian artists, including Justin Bieber, Michael Bublé, and, of course, my favorite, Tate McRae. You heard her over the last song break. So we're just gonna unpack this weekend and then also maybe filter into some more long-term NHL talk. But the Oilers captain, Connor McDavid, won the $1 million skills challenge really fast. He won the... It was like the speed race, won by 3 seconds. It was crazy. He was the last one to go. Wayne Gretzky was in attendance, which was also really cool. I actually went to an Avalanche game back in early January, and they were voting on some of their players that they were going to send to the All-Star, so it was cool to kind of see that too. So what do y'all think about all this?
I saw the skills challenge, and man, that joke was crazy. It kind of fell into place because I don't know if you know AMP. They're a big YouTube channel around. They live in the Atlanta area, but they're a very big YouTube channel, guys like Kai Cenat, Duke Dennis, et cetera, and they did a hockey video. So I was watching regular guys get out on the ice and just struggle, hurt themselves, like 3 dudes went to the hospital, it was crazy. And then I go on Instagram a few hours later, and I just see this dude flying up the ice. I'm sitting here acting like I'm skiing and stuff, flying up the ice, doing the skills challenge, putting it between all the little hoops, and he barely missed the goal at the very end, but it was just insane, because I remember I went ice skating at Atlantic Station a few years back, and I was slipping and sliding. When I finally got the hang of it, I set my vertigo off, I got dizzy and fell. I mean, because I just know it's not easy, so seeing that, it was just awesome. It was very eye-opening. I might have to check out some more hockey in the future.
I mean, I think this is one of the better NHL All-Star weekends that we've seen in a long time, to be honest. I think it was cool having the team captains, especially as they were all native to Canada, right? All four of them.
That was cool too.
It was really cool, and they were all very present. You saw, Michael Bublé give a press conference. Justin Bieber was out on the ice. Like, they really injected themselves into the game, into the city of Toronto, which was also pretty cool, but I'm a Tampa fan. We don't like Toronto. Screw Austin Matthews. Screw the Maple Leafs. I saw Brendan mentioned it to me. Tampa's mascot actually walked out the red carpet with a mini Stanley Cup, and it was a little note and said like something Toronto will never have. So it's one of those. It was one of those cool rivalries. But I think it was just great for the city of Toronto. Great for the sport. NHL hockey is really underrated in my opinion. If you look at the atmosphere, even with teams that necessarily aren't the greatest, you go to a game and you're just injected immediately into the culture, into the atmosphere. It's just really fun. It's a great sport.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I went to the Avs game in Denver in early January. I also recently went to a Columbus River Dragons hockey game. They're kind of like the Federation of Prospective Hockey League. So
I had a science class with a River Dragons player last semester.
Yeah,
it's cool. It's kind of random.
It's cool. So, and going from like NHL, like professional top league, going to like some of the bottom league, like hockey fans are crazy.
Yeah.
Like they are just so into it, so passionate about it, no matter like the level that they're at. And like I just love that about the sport.
Man, shout out my dad. He played hockey. Shout out all my family in Canada. They're diehard hockey fans. A lot of them are Leafs fans, so they're not going to be too happy with you, Gavin. But I grew up around this sport, and honestly, since ESPN started covering hockey, they signed the deal with them. They have the TV deal now where a lot of hockey is on ESPN. Before, it was mostly on NBC Sports, which obviously some big games would be on NBC, but for the most part, people aren't really tuning into NBC Sports. So the NHL didn't have as big of a footprint here. But now that it's on ESPN, it's being promoted on the social media. I don't know if you've seen SportsCenter, ESPN the last few years. They've been promoting the NHL far more. I think the All-Star Weekend was genius. I thought getting Tate McRae, Justin Bieber, Michael Bublé, big names like that, Will Arnett out there was genius. I think hockey is booming right now. Connor McDavid might be the best player we've ever seen put on skates. He's active. There's so much right now hot about the NHL, and I think its future is incredibly bright. I'm a Penguins fan. We're 7 points out of a playoff position right now, so I'm a little worried about that. But hockey is incredible. It's coming, and I'm excited.
You mentioned Connor McDavid. There's another Connor that just made his debut.
McGregor?
No, my God. Wow, yeah. Actually, shout out UFC. UFC 300 is coming out soon. Anyway, Connor Bedard, first overall pick in the draft for NHL, made his first All-Star appearance in year one. A lot of people are comparing him to Connor McDavid. A lot of people are comparing him to Sidney Crosby. A lot of people are comparing him to the greats of hockey. So it was really cool just to see him make his debut. He didn't play, but he still made the All-Star team, right? He still got to experience that. So shout out to Connor Bedard. He's been on an absolute tear, leading all rookies in points scored. So it's like you said, it's a really exciting time for hockey.
Everyone talks about Victor Wembanyama. I don't even know if he's the best rookie in sports right now. I think Connor Bedard's got something to say about that because Wemby's not on the All-Star team. I mean, he's 7'6", he's a giant, but he's not on the All-Star team. Connor Bedard's out there dominating. That's all I'm saying.
I love how Brennan still had to inject basketball into the conversation.
But there was another rookie out there that made the kind of All-Star game, made the Pro Bowl, C.J. Stroud. Let's not forget about that now. That might be the best rookie in all of sports. Now I'm done. No more football tonight. I'm done.
God, though, I mean, I know a lot of our audience, they live in the South. They might not be huge hockey fans because we lost the Thrashers here in Atlanta years ago. But hockey, man, it's worth checking out. And this is not a, endorsed, paid hockey ad, but it's an incredible sport. It's on the rise. It might come back to Atlanta. It'll be amazing.
There are rumors that it's supposed to come back to Atlanta
in the late 2020s. But, even though, the Thrashers are gone, there's still these lower league teams, the Gladiators and the River Dragons, that are pretty metro Atlanta. So, definitely go check it out. It's a super cool experience regardless, like I said, of the, league. It's still, you immerse yourself in the experience, which I think makes hockey so different than any other sport.
I love to immerse myself in hockey. But more than that, I love immersing myself in Sports Pack, and I hope that our audience immerse themselves tonight, too.
That was good.
It was a great episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We are back Thursday with our Super Bowl special, a cannot miss episode. We're all picking the granddaddy of them all, not the Rose Bowl, the big granddaddy of them all, the Super Bowl. For Sports Director Brendan Willoughby Ray, Gianna Wilcox, Carly Pear, Richard Reed, and Gavin Ellis, we will see you on Thursday.